Hi, everybody. It's Julie Skolnick from With Understanding Comes Calm. Let's talk 2E and 2eresources.com. And I'm coming to you with our Gifted and Distractible vlog. And I want to talk to you about something today that I think you might have on your mind, and that is transitions. Whether you are the parent of a 2E child, the teacher of a 2E child, or you're a 2E adult, let's talk about transitions, because I'm guessing they're hard for you in some way. Whether they're hard for you because they're hard for your child, they're hard for you because they're hard for you, or they're hard for you because you're a teacher and you're trying to get 2E kids to transition and having a hard time. So first of all, why are transitions hard? Actually, let's even back up further. What are transitions? When do we transition? Guess what? You transition always. You transitioned from not watching this video to watching this video. We transition from waking up to going to sleep, and from going to sleep to waking up. We transition to meal times, from meal times, getting in the car, going to school, everything, going from class to class, going to work, going into a meeting. Everything is a transition. Okay, so why are transitions hard? Is it only when we transition from things we love to do to things we don't love to do, or from a high interest to a low interest activity, that transitions become hard? Not always. Sometimes every single transition for a 2E person is hard. So why is that? Well, let's think about the profile for a second. 2E people, sometimes, a lot of times, we find rigidity, black and white thinking. We oftentimes find sensory sensitivity. So just the idea of moving from one thing to another, it might take us a little bit more time to actually warm up to this idea, or to be able to actually do that. Emotion regulation, we know, is and can be a challenge. There's anxiety often with this profile, and which comes first, the challenge to transition, or the anxiety and then the transitioning troubles? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I'm all about the now what. So, okay, transitions are whenever we're moving from one thing to another thing, and it doesn't have to be from a easy thing to an easy thing, or a hard thing to an easy thing, or an easy thing to the hard thing. It's just we see pushback, we see pause, we see resistance oftentimes. So there's this cycle that I observe, right? We start with an expectation. We're going to get out of bed. We're going to go from this activity in school to this activity in school. Whatever that transition piece is, there's this expectation. Then there's pushback or a reaction, and we have a spectrum of reactions, and they can depend on a whole host of things, including how full or empty the resilience bucket is for the 2E person. And then we see this fight or flight situation happen. So what can you do? That's the question. What can you do? How do we make that uncomfortable zone turn into more of a comfortable zone when our 2E self, 2E student, or 2E child resists a transition? Well, we really first and foremost need to make sure that the 2E person understands that they are safe. So if you're talking about a 2E adult, that means you have to do some work on some positive self-talk. You can do this, you're safe, nothing horrible is going to happen, right? With a 2E child or a 2E student, there needs to be some work on the front end to make sure that that child knows that they're safe with you. So there has to be a lot of understanding going on. There has to be some wait time when the child isn't ready. And there has to be a lot of prep that goes into it so that the child knows what to expect. So they have to feel comfortable with you. They have to feel not judged with you. They have to know that their timeline is okay with you, which means if you're trying to transition really quickly, then it was on you ahead of time to let that child know what's coming. And not only that, it's so important to collaborate with them. So if you have this personal connection and they feel safe, and you can say, hey, tomorrow here's the plan, and I'm going to feel a little pressured that we do this transition, whatever it is. How can you help me? How can I make this easier for you? Collaborate with the 2E child. That is always going to help make the transition smoother. And by the way, grown-ups, when we're talking about a 2E child, have a backup plan. What can happen if that child doesn't transition? And really, if there is no plan B, that means you need to have planned ahead of time. So whether music's going to help transition or some incentive's going to help transition, a choice is going to help transition, you got to collaborate with the kid to figure it out. And then being creative, doing things that are fun, making sure that that child has time in their passion place, their interest place. Because remember, I just referred to the resilience bucket. Those are the things that fill that resilience bucket. So if you come to a child and you want them, a TUI child, and you want them to transition and their resilience bucket is empty, if I was a betting woman, I'd say, you're going to have a really hard time getting them to transition, even if it's from going from home to the ice cream store, because their fuel is low. So we can't just expect all the time that transitions to a high interest area are going to be easy. They're not. And there's good reason, because of all the stuff we talked about, the rigidity, the anxiety, the sensory sensitivity, whatever's going on in their life. Okay. Then we got to make sure we're clear. Make sure your expectation is super clear and they know what is coming. Okay. So to review, transitions, which are everything, are hard for TUI people. We have to make transitions a safe place for TUI people, even if we're talking about our TUI self. We need to help our TUI people understand what to expect and figure out what they need to make that transition easier for them. And we need to make sure that those expectations are crystal clear. So this is Julie Skolnick from With Understanding Comes Calm and the Gifted Distractible vlog. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions about transitions or you want to share a transition moment that either was awesome or not so awesome, please put it in the comments. Share it with everybody, because I'm sure there's somebody out there who's sharing the same experience with you. Thanks for listening.